Today you will learn how to use the distributive property of multiplication. The distributive property of multiplication is when a multiplication fact can be broken apart into the sum of two other multiplication facts. Let's take a look at an example. 4 times 7. The number 7 can be pretty large, and so to make it easier on myself, I'm going to break that factor into two smaller numbers. I know that 4 plus 3 equals 7. So I will take each addend and multiply it by the first number. 4 times 4 equals 16. 4 times 3 equals 12. So then I will just add those two sums together. 16 plus 12 equals 28. So by using the distributive property, I now know that 4 times 7 equals 28. Get your board and marker ready. Okay, let's try some of these together. You're going to need your marker and your board because I want you doing this along with me. We are going to look at a problem 5 times 9. Now I know most of us know the 9's trick with our fingers, but if we don't, the distributive property will help us break this apart so that it's a little easier for us to multiply. Because when we get into these big numbers, it's a little bit harder to remember them. So remember the distributive property, I am taking this factor and I'm breaking it into two smaller parts that are easier to multiply. So the number 9, I know, can be broken up into 5 plus 4. 5 plus 4 equals 9. So the next thing that I need to do is multiply my first factor by my first addend. What is 5 times 5? Very good. 5 times 5 is 25. Now I need to multiply this first factor by my second addend, 5 times 4. 5 times 4 equals 20. But I'm not done yet. Now I need to add these two sums together. And it's already stacked up for us if you did it just like mine. So we're going to add our ones first. 5 plus 0 is 5, and 2 plus 2 equals 4. So now I know that 5 times 9 equals 45. Let's do the next one together. Okay, go ahead and erase your board, and we're going to do the next one together. And on my board, I have 3 times 8. Let's go ahead and use the distributive property to solve for 3 times 8 together. Remember, the first thing that we need to do is to break this bigger number apart. And I know that the easiest way to break this number apart would be to add 4 plus 4. Now I need to take my first factor, 3, and multiply it by my first addend, 4. 3 times 4 equals 12. So you're going to write 3 times 4 equals 12. Now I need to go back up to my first factor and now multiply it by my second addend, 3 times 4. That's what we just did, so let's write it again. 3 times 4 equals 12. Now we need to add these two sums together, or these two products together. And it's already stacked up nicely for us if you did it just like mine. So let's add our ones first. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 1 plus 1 equals 2. So now I know that 3 times 8 equals 24. Awesome job. Go ahead and erase your board. You're going to try one more on your own. At the top of your board, I would like you to please write 5 times 7. Now, some of us are really good with our 5s, which is great, but I want to practice this distributive property because when we start getting into really big numbers, like 2-digit numbers, it's going to be easier to use this rule breaking the second factor into two different parts. And so I want us just to practice using this method. So at the top, write 5 times 7, and you are going to break the number 7 into two smaller numbers. You will multiply the first factor by the first addend. Then you will multiply the first factor by the second addend. You will add your two sums together to get your answer. When you are done, I want you to come back, check your answer, and see how you did. Pause the video and try the problem on your own. Come back and check when you're done. Boys and girls, there are many different ways that you could have broken up the number 7. And so if you have it a little bit different than mine, that's okay as long as we get the same answer. All right, go along with me. I broke the number 7 into two numbers. I know that 5 plus 2 equals 7. So I'm going to multiply this factor by my first addend. 5 times 5 equals 25. And I'm going to multiply this factor again by my second addend. 5 times 2 equals 10. So when I add these two products together, whoops, let me get that up there. Can you see that? Ooh, that's sunny. There we go. I'm going to add my ones first. 5 plus 0 is 5. 2 plus 1 is 3. So now I know that 5 times 7 equals 35 by using that distributive property. Great job, boys and girls. Today you have learned how to use the distributive property of multiplication.